Okay, so Max released the fifth episode to the Last of Us season 2, right, on Sunday. And like I've been doing for the last few videos, I was late. I was late as fuck on the last video, but I'm trying to get this one out. I want to get this one out at least by tomorrow, or even nah, I can't do it today. I got no time today. But maybe I might be able to put it out. Well, I might be able to have it ready by tonight. But we gotta see. Um, Overall, it was a good episode. There was a few moments that I didn't like where Dina tells her backstory. It was kind of yappy. And then the other moment I didn't like was when Jesse came in the picture, and I'm like, where the hell are you coming from? Literally, what they wrote Jesse's character into that moment at that point in time so poorly, and the reasoning to how he found them was even worse. But um, let's go ahead and jump into the episode from start to finish. So at the beginning of the episode, we get the introduction of spores. This wasn't in the first season, but now it's going to be in the second season, as a way that the cordyceps have been adapting over time. And then while these two ladies are having this conversation, they talk about the basement floor level 1, the basement floor level 2, and the basement floor level 3. Now, it's kind of a tongue twister. When they talk about those three floors, they talk about the first floor was completely empty, not even rats. And there was, kind of there wasn't no emphasis on the word rats. But for those that played the game, and for those that know what's on the third floor of this basement, hearing the word rat was definitely a nod and a hint to the Rat King, which takes place in the game, in Abby's portion of the game, and takes place in that third level, in that third floor of the basement. Will they introduce this Rat King either in Ellie's story or in Dina's story? I'm not like they they put that word in there intentionally, 100%. There's without a doubt in my mind. They knew what they were doing saying the word rat, talking about these basement floors. It was all intentional. But do I think we'll get the Rat King boss fight? No. With the realistic approach that they're going on with this season, I don't think the Rat King will be in the basement floor of that hospital. Nor do I think Abby can kill this Rat King on her own. But we'll see what happens. Let me just keep moving forward. From that introduction of the spores, excuse me. From that introduction of the spores, we cut to Ellie and Dina in the theater, and Dina's triangulating and marking down positions where the wolves are, and she's looking for a path that they can take to reach to the hospital, to reach Nora. And she's using the radios to listen in on the wolves. But I don't, in this moment right here, I don't like how they have Ellie like being dumb or playing dumb or acting dumb. I don't like how they written Ellie to be the obviously non smarter one out of the Ellie and Dina. And also in this moment in time, I don't like how non serious it feels. Like the tone and the undertone of kind of these past few episodes after Joe's death, it's kind of been light and kind of like warm-hearted, and in my opinion it shouldn't be, and I said that in my last video. I feel it should be way more serious, way less goofing around, way more darker, way more violent, and just a lot more gritty. And I don't feel like we're getting enough of that. I feel that it's too kind-hearted and warm-hearted and light and just rainbows and smiley faces and this and that, and the stories about revenge, violence, and murder. And we're getting that, but not to the extent to which we should be getting it. But that's my opinion on that. And like I said earlier, how they have Ellie being dumb and Dina being the smarter one. Obviously, in the game, Dina, they're not. these perspectives on the two characters wasn't like that in the game. It wasn't Dina's the obviously smarter one and Ellie's the obviously dumber one. But Dina was the more calculated one ish, while Ellie was the one to just say, fuck it, I'm finna start shooting right now. Dina's the one who's like, let's be quiet, let's play it smart, you know. But and it still kind of has that feel to it, but now they're taking it to like another level. I feel where Ellie's just, I don't know, I don't want to call her dumb, but I'm just getting these vibes that Ellie's the dumb character and Dina's the smart character. But after that, Ellie goes down to the theater. In the game, this is where we get the flashback after Dina says that she's pregnant, but the way they're arranging the story now is different. I don't hate the way that they're rearranging this story, but I need more to be able to judge. We only got 2 episodes left, so a lot of shit has to go down. We only have 2 episodes left. A lot has still a lot more has to take place. I feel like we're only barely still at the beginning, and we only got 2 episodes left. But I don't hate how they're rearranging the story. Some people do, some people don't. I don't, but I do need to see more before I can fully say, yeah, the way they rearranged it is odd. But Ellie goes down to the theater. She goes down to the stage. The theater was beautiful. The theater, I think it was somewhere in Canada. This theater is located in. I'm not too sure. I think that's what I heard. But she goes down to the stage. She grabs the guitar, and she plays that song "If I Were to Ever Lose You," and then that kind of takes her back to the moment where Joe was killed. Um, that song came out in 2013. The Last of Us game, The Last of Us game came out in 2013, and the apocalypse started in 2013 in that game. But the apocalypse in this show, or in this timeline, or whatever, the apocalypse in this show started in 2003. So obviously, this song was yet to come out. But I believe Craig Mason said, fuck it, I'm still gonna put it in there. I don't care. But it's just because the words and the lyrics of that song just fit so well, and there's really no other song that could really match that same energy to that song. So she plays the few lyrics to that song, and in the game, immediately flashback. But in here, Dina comes in the room. She says, I think I figured out a path that we can take. And then they go on this journey, right? Um, okay, my bad. Okay. So they go on this journey, right? They start walking. On their path, Dina says, or Ellie asks Dina, if what are you gonna name your child? And Dina's like, if it's a girl, Ellie. If it's a boy, Elijah. And when I saw that live, I'm thinking to myself, no, like, why are they trying to put this agenda on us? But then Ellie's like, really? And she's like, no, I'm kidding. And I'm like, thank God, because that would have been weird. I don't remember the name that Dina gives her child in the game, but it wasn't that. I know that for sure. It wasn't one of those two. I know that for a fact. But from there, we see dead scars underneath a mural of the prophet. And we've seen the conflict of these two fighting each other, ever since they got to Seattle. We've seen dead scars, we've seen dead wolves, we've seen dead scars, we've seen dead wolves from them two fighting each other. And now we're seeing it again. And what made me laugh was how underneath the prophet of the mural it says feel her love, and then underneath that it says feel this bitch, and then all the dead bodies. And that made me laugh. That was funny. And then more as we're walking, or right after that moment actually, Dina's like, well, Ellie started regretting bringing Dina along on this trip. And in the game, once Ellie finds out Dina's pregnant, Dina stays in the theater for the remainder of the story. Ellie goes on about this journey all by herself after knowing that Dina's pregnant. Sorry, all these tongue twisters and a lot to say, but they're taking a different approach, which isn't a bad thing. But whenever they see these dead bodies, Ellie's like, fuck, I should have never brought you along. You're pregnant. What am I doing? What am I thinking? I should have left you at the theater so you can be safe. But then Dina goes on this whole woke, not woke, but she goes on this whole backstory talking about Raiders killed my family and I killed them. And if I never killed him, I would have been on the exact same revenge path that you're on, which is just what all that was. All that backstory yapping was just for Dina to basically say the rage you're going through and the rage that's pushing you to want to kill Abby is the exact same rage that would have pushed me to want to kill the raider that killed my family. So in this way, we're kind of connecting the two characters, saying that they're almost the same morally and belief-wise. I don't know if that's a correct word, but basically, Dina would have done the exact same thing. And it's also something to say that Dina was in the room while Joe got killed, but this time, as opposed to when she was in a room when raiders killed her family and she was able to kill this raider, when she was in the room with Joe and the raiders, well, not raiders, but wolves killed Joe, she was asleep. She couldn't do anything, but she knows mentally, I was in that room, but I was asleep and I couldn't have done anything. So I think that kind of plays a part as to why she's so willing to tag along with Ellie on this journey to get revenge for Joe, along with her being in love with Ellie, right? But that was that. When we never got that in the game, so that could have been something. And then finally, we get to the warehouse that they're in. As soon as they enter the warehouse, we get a Easter egg ish or something. Basically, there's a Mother's Day sticky note on that front desk, which I will add. And this episode came out on Mother's Day, so that was cool, I guess. From there, they talk about having a plan. The plan was knives or run, and that's not what happens at all. As soon as they run at the stalkers, they immediately start shooting. And Dina was the one to tell Ellie, as soon as things go sideways, Ellie immediately starts doing, and she wants Ellie not to do that. But as soon as the stalkers show themselves and that plan gets thrown out the window and the plan gets tested, they both fold. Both of them fold. And now they go on and bro, fuck, now I gotta get into this plan that they had. The plan that they had to break or to separate in that little room where all the stalkers were in was honestly stupid. Ellie cannot take on. There was three in the front, four in the back, so maybe seven. Was it 4, 5, 6, 7? Yeah, I'm right. So maybe seven. Let's just say 8 stalkers. And in case I'm missing one, let's say Ellie cannot take on 8 stalkers all by herself. Not this Ellie. She can get bit, but like Tess told her, you can get bit and live, but you can't live being torn apart. Fact. You can get bit and you will be fine. But if you get torn apart and fucked up by being bit, you're not living that. You won't survive from being bit in the neck and having a piece of your neck chewed out. You're not coming back from that. No matter being immune, the shit not saving you this time. And the fact that they had a plan to break off and for Dina to go into this cage and for Ellie to take on all of them and immediately be taken down to the ground and immediately almost, I'm thinking to myself, she's gonna die. There is no saving her. She will get uh she will get avalanched. Fuck. I forgot the word. She will get swarmed, avalanche. She was already on the ground with 2 stalkers on her. Maybe 3 stalkers on Dina. And all it took was for 2 of those stalkers from Dina to come help these other 2 stalkers, and Ellie would have died right there, guaranteed. It would have been way more smarter. I mean, I guess in the heat of the moment, you can't really think tactically or whatever. I'll give it to him. I'll give that to you. Okay, you're in the heat of the moment. You're not thinking exactly. You're not thinking perfectly logically as you would if there was no pressure on you at that point in time. In my opinion, if they both ran into that cage and both fended off the stalkers from the inside of that cage, they would have had a much more better chance And even with that, they might even had a better chance just to just run off because stalkers really, I mean, they will chase you, but in the game they didn't really attack unless you stayed still and not stayed still, but unless you were if you ran away from the stalkers in the game, they would follow you, but they wouldn't attack you unless one was right in front of you. And like I was saying, if they both went into that cage and fended off from the stalkers inside of that cage, they would have had a much, much, much more better chance, guaranteed. But that's not what happens. Dina almost gets killed because the stalkers were ripping apart that cage, and Ellie gets tackled down immediately, and it looks like she got bit. I'm not sure. I'm thinking to myself, she's gonna die right here, right now. But we get this cliche ass save from Jesse. Very cliche. The like when he explains how he got there, I'm like, what the fuck? You mean to tell me you found the theater that Ellie and Dina were in out of this whole city of Seattle? You just magically stumbled upon the exact same building out of the hundreds of buildings that's in Seattle. You just somehow stumbled across the same building that Ellie and Dina were in, and they forgot this fucking map in the building like they did in the aquarium. But before I get too far off topic, the way Jesse saves Ellie was the exact same way Joel saved Abby, and if you compare those two scenes side by side, you'd see exactly what I was talking about. But that was that. The three run out of the warehouse. They run into this park, which is Scar territory, which was cool to see. And the wolves don't even bother to go inside that park. They say, "Fuck it, let the Scars kill them. We're not going in there." Either they're scared of the Scars, or they knew that the three stood no chance being in this park with the Scars, which was a incorrect assumption. But the three ran into this park, which is Scar territory, and then, like I said just now, Ellie asked Dina, "How did you find us?" And Jesse says, "I found the map that I left in the theater," which was so cliche. Like that was so poorly written. There's no way in hell Jesse just managed to stumble upon, and enter the building where Ellie and Dina were staying in. And the fact that they left this map in that building is it's bad writing. That plain out and simple. That was bad. That was should not adding up. It really ain't. Like it didn't make sense to me. You mean to tell me out of the hundreds of buildings that are in Seattle, Jesse just entered the one where Ellie and Dina were staying in, and how smart that Dina supposedly is, she left this fucking map telling others exactly where they're going. And the fact that Jesse just happened to be there at the moment he was allegedly, he just happened to be there on time to save them too. That was I didn't like that. To me, that was one of my biggest critiques of this episode. From there, uh, the wolves are killing somebody and hanging somebody, freeing him from sin, as the scars say. From there, Dina takes an arrow to the thigh, as opposed to Ellie taking an arrow to the shoulder. But the whistle, and the arrow being shot right after that, that's so badass from the scars, bro. Like even in the game, as as much as I hated the encounters with the scars in the game, that whistling system that they have is badass. It really is. Like it gives Negan vibes. Like whenever they surrounded Rick and his crew in that forest, it gives those vibes so heavily. But it's so badass with the whistles though. And the arrow, like they always whistle before they shoot an arrow. It's like, oh wow, it just came back to me. When hunters hunt deer and they got their animal, or however they got their kill right here, right? They got the animal that they're gonna shoot right here, right now. They do the exact same thing. so the deer will be eating grass or whatever, or minding its own business, and the hunter has his shot lined up, and he's ready to take this shot, but he wants a better angle. So what that hunter will do, the hunter will make a noise or maybe even a whistle. I'm not too sure, but they'll whistle. This whistle gets the deer to pick up its head, expose its neck, which is a vulnerable shot, and that gives the hunter that opening that it needs to take that kill shot, and to show respect to the animal. Well, now I'm going really off topic, but to show respect to the animal and to the kill that they just got, the hunter wants to get that. The hunter wants to get this kill with just one. That's how you show respect to an animal. But I just went completely off topic. But that's what that whistle stuff is. That is some real life shit. But it's cool. I went off topic. I went really off topic. It's cool, but the whistle before taking the arrow is badass. And then Ellie, as Ellie's running away to, they split ways again, which I think this time was the better call to make. But they split ways again. Ellie draws most of the scars away from Jesse and Dina, and then you hear a whistle. We hear, I think it was looked like a boat. It didn't look like an arrow, but it looked like a boat. And we hear that we see that boat just, and Ellie like had to weave it, and it would have got her straight in the head, but she weaved it, and then she hides in the tree. After the scars leave and Ellie gets out from the tree, Ellie sees a sign for the hospital. I believe that's what it was in the far background. She sees a sign for the hospital, and and this is where we see the revenge side of Ellie take over, which isn't shown enough in the show. We need to see the side of her more, more, more. We need to see her choose revenge more often than not. But in this moment of time, she chooses Nora over a hurt Dina, and she chooses Nora over going and reuniting with Jesse and Dina. And in this moment, she enters the hospital through entering a hole in the building, but she reaches that hole in the building by going prone in the tall grass, which is exactly how we did it in the game. And Ellie is small enough to be able to pull that one off. That grass was tall, and Ellie's a small human, I guess. I was gonna say woman, but I don't know what she goes by. Bella, Ellie, same shit. Ellie's small enough, human-wise, to be able to pull off going prone in the tall grass to not be seen by these wolves. But the dog smells her out, hears her out, and whatever. I don't know how they didn't see. It looked like he shined that flashlight at the exact same moment where Ellie pulls back her backpack. Ellie pulls her backpack into that hole. I feel he should be able to see that, but maybe he did, and he just thought it was an animal or whatever. He signals off to the radio that it was a critter or something, whatever. And then when I seen this live, I'm thinking to myself, Ellie finds Nora way too fucking fast. That was way too quick. In the game, we go through a murder spree right there. If you go through that, if you have it down that way, or if you go through a silently. But she finds Ellie finds Dina way too fast. But then on my second watch through, Dina tells Ellie Nora's on the first floor and this back corner of the hospital. So that's why. Okay, so when I saw it live, I'm thinking, this is cap. That's bullshit. But then when I watched it again, okay, this is exactly why Ellie found Nora so fast. But then from there, we get the exact same encounter as we did in the game. And then we get the exact same lines that we got in the game. But from Nora's side, I feel that these lines right here, I feel like the lines sometimes at night, I still hear his screams. Those lines specifically, they felt very rushed and forced, and it wasn't a smooth transition to go into those lines. It felt like we had to get these lines from the game so that us gamers can be like, oh, that's from the game. But I don't know, it felt forced. Like, it wasn't, like, if they said something else, I wouldn't have minded it. And I like that they use these lines from the game, but to me it just felt off. It didn't feel like she didn't say these lines. She wasn't able to pull these lines off. It just felt off. It didn't feel right. Everything else was fine. All the other lines that they said from the game felt fine, but these lines specifically, sometimes at night I still hear his screams. That's just that right there. Just those lines right there. That felt off to me. It didn't sound right. But from there, Nora runs away. And then again, I think to myself, how come they didn't? How come these wolves didn't follow Ellie and Dina down to this elevator shaft? But then again, the spores. I didn't hear. I'm thinking to myself, these wolves had plenty enough time to reach this elevator and kill Ellie as she's going down the elevator shaft using the ladders. But like again, it took it to my second watch to hear there's a breach. Cover everything. Spores are coming out. We can't go. We can't go over there. And that is why these wolves didn't follow Ellie down to the elevator shaft. But from there, we see all the spores that are all over the walls, blah, 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 nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. And then from there, we get that badass scene from the game where Ellie's torturing Nora to get information out of her to find out where Abby is. My only complaint with this was that Ellie was hitting the legs only, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that Ellie was only hitting the legs. I feel like to me she should have like. I mean, I guess if Ellie swung on her head one time, she was gonna die. In the game, you can get away with that, but in this realistic setting that we're going off of, right? If Ellie swung on her head, that bitch would have died, and she would have got her head split open quick, and just like that, she's dead. But I feel like if she went to the body, or I mean, the body would have been fine enough to me, really. If she just swung that one straight to the body, boom, straight to the ribs, right down the middle, on the liver or something, in this region right here, whatever this, or the gut, or the stomach, or the chest, any, it was the legs were. Maybe she did eventually move up towards the body, but I wanted to see her hit the hell out of her body. And the legs were too easy. The legs is like, okay, I'm letting you off the hook. I didn't like that. But maybe she does eventually end up beating the shit out of her and hitting her body. And I mean, I guess with a pipe, it won't take too many before Nora's dead. So maybe she will have to transition to her fist since we're going on to this realistic setting, right? But another thing, Ellie swung at Nora's legs as her first few hits, and Abby swung at Joe's legs on her first few hits. And then after that, we cut to the flashback, which we would have got if Ellie was upset to the news about Dina being pregnant, but they moved that way over here. In the game, we got this flashback when Ellie's upset with Dina and when they first arrived to Seattle, and like she's sad, she feels down, she's sad that Dina's pregnant with someone else's baby. She's sad that Joe just got killed and now they're in this new place and she feels like she has a burden with her. And then we get this happy flashback with Joel. And in the game, that flashback comes from a moment of sadness, and now in the show, this flashback comes back from a moment of rage and a moment of almost killing somebody, which is something. I'm not sure what it is, but it is something. And in this flashback, the flashback was fine. I might be nitpicking a bit too much, but I didn't like the exaggerated smile that Ellie had. But I believe it's her birthday, so I guess it's warranted. Maybe I'm okay. You're critiquing too much, but I'm very happy to see this flashback, and I'm very happy to see this next episode. That was everything that this episode had to offer. It was a good episode overall. I did enjoy it. I've watched it like 3 times. I'll probably watch it a fourth time just because I enjoy watching The Last of Us. I didn't like that Dina backstory part. I didn't like the Jesse part. The Nora lines I can look over. The Ellie not beating Nora's ass. How I wanted her to. and Ellie's over exaggerated smile I can look over. But it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. But that's the video. Thank you for watching.